Okay, so tonight we'll, as Lung Paul mentioned, we'll have the Sāmaṇera ordination for Anagārika Nick. And it's a very special opportunity to be here to witness that. This is a very auspicious weekend, as Lung Paul mentioned. We'll have also a bhikkhu ordination for Sāmaṇera Chittapalo on Sunday afternoon. And got lots of people here to come and share in this, and on both of these occasions. So the ceremony comes in several different chunks. The first part of it will be Nick taking the novice precepts, Sāmaṇera precepts, and it's all in the Pali language. But essentially what he'll be chanting means, whatever goodness has been accumulated by me, may I offer it to you, and may I partake in the accumulated goodness of the Venerable Sir. Out of compassion, permit me to receive the going forth. And then there'll be more Pali chanting, offering the robes to take a look at, inspect the robes. He'll be doing some more chanting, which translates as to cross over all dukkha in order to realize nibbana. Taking these robes, or having taken these robes, please, out of compassion, grant me the going forth. After that, there will be some further instruction, which I'll mention, and a little bit further down the line, he'll actually make the request for the 10 precepts of the novice, which I'll mention a little bit about later as well. So details to come. Ordination. So.
Savandami Phante Sabbang Aparadhang Hamathame Phante Maya Katang Punyang Sāmaṇera Hanumoditabang Sāmaṇera Katang Punyang Maihang Databang Sadhu Sadhu Anumodami Okasakarunyang katva pabbajang detame bhante.
Okay. Take a look. Inspect the and a sash to hold it all. Good. That helps.
Pabbajang ya chayampi ahang pan satchikarane anukampaya imankasaya Kasavanga Etang kasavanga Sabbadukhanissa Pasaranat Nibbana Etamang Bhante Anukampang Upadaya.
Okay, so sit in Papaya, hands in Anjali. So Nick has completed the request for the going forth. And essentially what this means is that he'll be going into brown robes of the Sāmaṇera. And he's been following the 8 precepts, which most of you are familiar with, as an Anagārika this past year. And so he'll be now taking on 10 precepts of the novice. And what that means is essentially that one of the precepts that he's been following, to refrain from entertainment, beautification, and adornment, gets split up into 2, use of money at this time. So it's letting go of going into town and buying things, or receiving money, dealing with any kind of monetary transactions, which is a significant change in a person's lifestyle. It's a very strong symbol of renunciation, of simplifying one's life so that one doesn't have the responsibilities of income and expenses and being responsible for those kinds of transactions. So I found that when I took that precept, that was quite significant in how I viewed my life. He's also taking a strong refuge in the triple gem, the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, which we all do, even with the 5 precepts or the 8 precepts, but firmly establishing his intention to tread the path that the Buddha set out with this added level of renunciation, but taking firm refuge in this as how he wants to spend at least the next year, possibly longer, all going well, and making a commitment to understanding the Buddha's teachings, putting them into practice, and taking that as the refuge, the primary refuge where he concentrates his time, attention, and energy for the next year. Of course, being with community and practicing in the style that we practice, but with that clarity and commonality that we've all committed to here at the monastery, living at the monastery. So it's a very beautiful aspiration that he is taking the opportunity to do at this time. One of the parts of this ceremony, the next part of the ceremony, is taking on a meditation practice that is part of the novice ordination. And it's learning to recite and to contemplate 5 parts of the body. It's called the basis of kammatthana, the basis of practice. And it's the first, some of you are familiar with the 32 parts of the body reflection. It's in our chanting book and is one of the contemplations that the Buddha instructs us on in the contemplation of the body, satipatthana. And the 5 parts of the body are just the first 5 that are in that 32 parts list: hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin. And in this part of the ceremony, I will recite them one by one in Pali, both in forward and reverse order, and Nick will repeat them after me in that process. And it may seem like kind of a strange contemplation. It's not taught a whole lot in meditation centers in this country anyway, in the West in general. But it's one that the Buddha thought was a very useful and apparently important enough one to make part of the novice ordination. And it's quite significant because it's a contemplation that can serve many purposes. It's when we look at somebody else or look at ourselves. It's a very calming, settling kind of meditation, just to learn them, recite them, and visualize them and experience them to the extent that we can. It also helps to cut the strong sensuality, the desires for sensuality. It helps to calm and settle those energies rather than for developing deep insight into. It's very significant in helping to see of greed, hatred, and delusion, or is usually and starting to break down piece by piece helps to and constituents of mind, imputing any judgment, insight, and that refuge in the body, and then also later on in the constituents of mind. Then, if that's where we place our refuge, then when it changes, we will experience suffering related to that loss or related to that change. So this is a really significant contemplation to help us lessen our confusion and attachment around the body. And when one completes this, or when one peace of mind and clarity of what this body, what this mind really is, becomes very apparent. And the clinging and attachment and hopes and fears that we have around this body and this mind and the expectations, like relation to it shifts. Would encourage Nick to his daily reflections. So with that in mind, we'll go ahead and recite each of these first 5 body parts: hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin. And so repeat it. Nakha,
Nakha,
Danta,
Danta,
Tacho,
Tacho,
in reverse order. Tacho,
Tacho,
Danta,
Danta,
Nakha,
Nakha,
Loma,
Loma,
Kesa.
Kesa.
Okay. Robes. And okay, and go ahead and bow, and then go ahead and put on your robes. Okay, someone will go help them out.
Hand sewn.
Hand sewn. Looks like it's freshly dyed too. Yeah, lovely.
Did he do that himself? That's a gift from the hand sewers from Chittapalo.
The robes that he will be putting on, the lower robe, which we call the saban, or the antarawasaka, and then this robe here, the main upper robe, which we call the chiwang, are the robes of the Sāmaṇera. This robe that's over the monk's shoulders is the third robe, the sangati, which comes with the full bhikkhu ordination. And the robes that he will be using now are robes that we have from our stores, but with the bhikkhu ordination, such as Chittapalo, who went to help him, will be using for his ordination, would be ones that he has sewn all himself. So Sāmaṇera Chittapalo has been sewing robes for the past several months, and he's taken up the actual determination and completed it to sew all of his robes by hand. Most of us have used sewing machines. But that comes with the full bhikkhu ordination. And the putting on robes I think Nick has been practicing some, but it's wearing these robes is a real practice in itself. And putting them on and keeping them on takes some time and practice to do, and even those of us who have been doing it for a long time, it's still a challenge sometimes when we're bowing or moving around. So usually this part of the ceremony is a practice in patience for all of us, because sometimes it can take a while to get all set up, and there'll be tying a little bit of a sash around to help hold it on when he's doing his bowing. So we can all sit quietly for the next bit of time. begin the formal request for the precepts.
Oka savandami bhante sabbang aparadhang hamatame bhante maya katang punyang samena anumoditabang samena katang punyang maihang databang sadhu sadhu anumodami Oka sakaranyang katva ti saranena saha silani detha me bhante
Okay.
Aham bhante yachami tatiyam
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa
Yamahang vadami tang vadehi.
Okasa ama bhante
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhi dhammang saranang gacchami
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami
Tisaranagamanaṃ nititang.
Okasa ama bhante
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami
Adinādana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adinādana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami
Abrahmacharya veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Abrahmacharya veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami
Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami
Surameraya majjapamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Sura meraya majjapamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang Vikala bhojana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami
Nachagita vadita visukkadasana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Nacha gita vadita visukadasana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami
Mala ganda vilepana dharana mandana vibhusanatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Mala gandha vilepana dhami
Uchasayana mahasayana
Ramani sikkhapadang
samadhiyami.
jata
Imani dasa sikkhapadani samadhiyami.
samadhiyami ani samadhiyami
Very good. So the taking of the precepts, the major part of the ordination has taken place. And the next part is a ceremony that we will take, that Nick will take dependence on both Ajahn Yanako and myself as his mentors for this period of training, for Nick's training in this next year. Of course, Luang Por, as our guiding elder, is the mentor for all of us, and will be, I'm sure, part of that process as well. But on paper and first line, it's the two of us that you'll be coming to if you have difficulties, problems, issues, questions, or that the Sāmaṇera has towards the priestability, in that we, as the mentors for Sāmaṇera Nick, will also have a set of responses, but also his requisites, clothing and medicinal requisites as needed. So it's a mutual dependence that we take upon each other, because he has left the household life, left family and relationships and friends behind, and in a sense is, at least for this period of time, entering into community with all of us, so that having let go of those formal connections, even though family connections and friendships are still part of a person's life as a Sāmaṇera or a bhikkhu, the primary community and sense of responsibility for looking after each other is within this community now. So we have the responsibility to look after and care for each other. So we'll go ahead and take do the process for taking dependence, both Ajahn Yanako and myself.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Acharyo me bhante hohi ayasmato nissaya vachhami. Acharyo me bhante hohi ayasmato nissaya vachhami. Acharyo me bhante hohi
Pati rupan
sadhu pante
pasadikena sampadehi
sadhu aham pite rasabharo anjata gedha.
Say a few words.
Okay, so I'll just give a going forth. So you've gone forth now. Remember giving a short ovada when yourself and Dansky took Anagārika being the second gate, the bhikkhu ordination being the third gate. So now Anagārika Dansky ended up leaving, and you've gone through this second gate now, taking on the relinquishing of money. And refuges and precepts, even though you took the refuges and the 8 precepts as an Anagārika, can't stress enough the importance and the power of the refuges and the precepts, because and the precepts are pretty much self-explanatory, but just wanted to focus on the refuges, because that's something perhaps we don't always give thought to, or what are they exactly? What does it actually mean to take refuge? And so the refuges, when we chant the refuge teaching of Master Shu Yun, he said, what's what's the most is that's what we focus on, that's what we give importance to, that's what we make much of. And this is more important than having some sort of special psychic power or some sort of special spiritual quality. Meditators call what the Buddha, and so that's what in sensuality we depend on sensuality and feel a sense of fulfillment in that, and the endless nature and the suffering of that. We have that little spark of wisdom that we've given rise to, perhaps, and that gives rise to this desire to search, to find something else, take on the life of the Sāmaṇera, the seeker of peace. And anyone who's engaged in large amounts of sensual lifestyle knows that it's not peaceful. And so we recognize that, and we search for another way. We're trying to search for another way. So we take refuge. The problem here is that even though we have this intention and we take refuge, the heart is still in that sensuality. It's still, at least part of the heart is still taking refuge in the sensual realm, in the world. So we're not out of the world yet, just by putting on the robes. But we want to internalize those refuges of Buddha Dhamma Sangha by the daily routine, the daily practice. The one sign that we're taking refuge internally is if we actually make use of the Dhamma. So the more we start to make use of the Dhamma teaching, say for example a sensual desire or lust arising, if our mind then turns to those mula kammatthana, the kesaloma nakadanta tacho, if our mind starts to turn towards that habitually, that's like refuge in Dhamma, that's using the Dhamma teaching, using the practice. If there's some sort of difficulty and you come to myself, Ajahn Krunadhammo, Longpa, Ajahn Sek, any of the rest of the community for help, that's refuge in Sangha, that's depending and relying on the spiritual companions in the holy life. And so refuge in Buddha, if we're taking refuge in, say, the internal Buddha, the Buddho, the awareness, or as Ajahn Mun and the other forest Ajahns would teach, Buddho is a meditation mantra, a meditation object. And so if there's some sort of difficulty or a fear or some sort of great internal turmoil that may arise in the course of the training, in the course of the practice, if our mind goes to Buddho, then that's a good sign that the refuge is becoming internalized. So then touching a little bit also on the mula kammatthana, the hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin, and Ajahn Krunadhammo mentioned about these being trying to see these things in a new way. These are things that when we take refuge in sensuality, these are the 5 things that we actually become infatuated with, because these are the 5 things that are visible on a human body. Hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin. That's what's visible. All of the other 32 parts are internal or invisible, have to be visualized in order to see them. And so there's a teaching of Lumpur Ban. He likes to talk a lot about these 5, keeping it very simple, very basic, and not getting too complicated with our meditation practice. And that we become infatuated with these things, and we have been infatuated with these things, and we want to cool that infatuation and uproot it. And it's like there's what Lumpur Ban calls a mess maker. There's a mess maker in the heart, and it takes the hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin, and it just goes around making messes with them. And so what we want to do is, as samanas, is actually clean house and clean ourselves up internally and wipe the mess maker out of the heart, so that it's clean and pure and bright. And when we start to do that, you already have some faith. If you didn't have any faith, you wouldn't be here. But then if we start to get that mess maker out and start to have an experience of internal cleanliness and a bright mind, and then the faith can start to increase, and then we start to see, okay, it's like in the suttas, this is peaceful, this is sublime, the stilling of all formations, the ending of ignorance and craving, and so on, the dispassion, cessation, nibbana. So that's what you're asking for, that's what you're signing up for. Nobody's coerced you to come here and do this, and but it takes work, it takes training, it takes a long time to, and it's, but refuges and precepts, just giving importance to that foundation, making that strong, and then we build our practice on top of that, so that what you've requested for the ending of all suffering, for the realization of nibbana, that can, starting out on that path on the right foot. So just give that as a very short encouragement or recollection as your first day as a novice. And also, just so everybody knows, his name is not going to be Nick anymore. He has a new name. So your new name is in this envelope, and you may view it.
Chanda Silo means brilliant virtue.
Free translation. Chanda is like the moon, but it can also mean like brilliant, radiant, bright. Yeah. Happy to have you.